In this video, I'm going to tell you how to buy a skimboard, and if you're wondering which one to buy or use for your specific skill level, you'll know exactly which skimboard to buy by the end of the video. So if you're starting out when you're brand new, you don't want to get hurt, and you want something inexpensive. A new board came out from Exile. It's in foamy. So me and Lucas Fink have used this in Cabo and kind of tested the limits on this thing. It can even ride waves and slide on the sand very well. Your body will stay intact by the end of the session just because it has a foam top and there's no hard rails to actually hurt your body. It's good enough to get started, get your drop down, slide on the sand, and potentially catch a wave if you're, pushing your limits on the board. A woodie's literally grabbing your money and lighting it on fire because you can do nothing on a woodie. So I just save up a couple more dollars and buy a foamy. After that beginner level, if I was in your guys' position, if I didn't have a huge amount of lump sum of money to just buy a brand new carbon fiber board, because the thing with skimboards is kind of like buy nice or buy twice. Basically, if you buy the top of board, you'll have it for 5 years plus if you take care of it properly. And that's also what I'll get into, is how to take care of your board as well when you actually buy it, so the board doesn't deteriorate quicker than it should. So the next board, I'd probably buy a somewhat used carbon fiber board that's in pretty good condition. Dings aren't a huge factor when it comes to skimboards. Like surfboards, it's a pretty big factor. The things with skimboards that you have to look out for if you're buying used, that is the chips or the wear and tear on the tail. So sometimes the carbon starts to pop out, or if someone hit a rock and the rails kind of indented from that, then that's what you have to watch out for. I wouldn't go for the epoxy or kind of the cheaper material boards that are sold in today's market. It's a super heavy board, and just going from an EXO, you already have all the basics down, and the next step would just to be catching waves, honestly. So there, I'd probably look out for a hybrid. This is a really good all-around board no matter what conditions you're riding in. It's very user-friendly. You can ride waves and pretty much do what you please on the board. People get mixed up with the different shapes and which skimboard to buy a lot. I think it's very overthought. The most popular skimboard shape as of right now is going to be the swallowtail, where it just forks at the bottom. This is the board I ride. The reason why I like to ride this board is because the main feeling you get while riding the wave, it's kind of like a surf fin where it can bottom turn really easily versus a rounded tail skimboard shape. It kind of is a lot harder to get that edge in. Basically, I can just describe it as a very surfy type feeling. So if you're on the East Coast, it's not a huge advantage just because the pocket of the wave is super small. So you're not going to be riding up and down a big wave. So I would just run with a hybrid because you get the flotation you need, and you get the maneuverability, and you can throw in tech pretty easily. With the swallowtail, it's a little bit more difficult to throw tech. When you're ready to take it to the next level, start to ride more serious waves and kind of getting towards the amateur to pro level, that's when I'd kind of go towards the swallowtail versus just out the get-go buying what's popular, because it's probably not going to be the best shape for your skill level. So a quick tip on how to take care of your board so it has a lot of longevity to it, because you're spending those high money making bills on these skimboards. So one, the sun is your enemy, so you don't want to leave your board out in the sun, especially for long periods of time. The other thing is the salt water. After every session, you kind of want to rinse it off with fresh water or a hose, because what happens is that the salt kind of just crusts on the bottom of your board, which can eventually kind of slow the board down as you're skimboarding. So whenever I get a new board, I can totally tell the difference between the old and the new, because I can slide out way easier. It's super slippery. So make sure you rinse off the board as well after you're done with your session. That's what I would do if I was starting out all over again, as I'd get the foamy. If I was on a budget, I would just buy a used carbon hybrid board from Exile. But if you have the money to spend it, obviously get a new one. That hybrid, that middle board, is going to be really your bread and butter board that you're going to have for a while until you want to take your skills to the next level. And that's when I would kind of incorporate the fish shape and some of those more strategic shapes. If you have any questions, just drop a comment below and I'll be sure to answer them right away.